Good morning. I'm standing here at one of the ponds on our property. I wanted to be here near water because of what I want to talk about today in our devotional. It's midweek, but I am just still all aglow about something that happened on Sunday. If you tuned in to the sermon or you came to the service, you know that we baptized one of our children, Aspen Epperson, on Sunday. And the plan had been for Bess Williams, our children's minister, and me to meet with Aspen during camp the week before and make sure that she fully understood what was going on in her baptism, not only the theology and the significance behind it, but also just the mechanics of how that we would do it. And the plan was to do that, but she wasn't able to come to camp last week. And her father offered to bring her in special to meet with me, and I said, oh no, you don't need to do that. I'll just speak with her on Sunday morning. But after I did, I kind of worried a little bit that I wasn't maybe giving Aspen the best chance, that a few minutes before her baptism was a little late to be talking to her about the significance of it and that kind of thing. And so I worried a little bit that I was letting her down by not making sure that I had a meeting with her during that week. Well, Sunday morning came and I went to meet with her as we had planned, and as I sat down with her, began to talk with her, I noticed that she had a little temporary tattoo on her arm like children get, and this was one that circled all the way around her arm, and I looked and I saw that it had scallop shells on it. And I said, Aspen, tell me about your tattoo. And I think her dad was a little embarrassed that she had this tattoo on her on the day of her baptism. But Aspen said, well, I went to a birthday party yesterday and they had tattoos, and this is the one that I picked out. And I said, well, that is so beautiful, because did you know that scallop shells are a symbol of baptism? And of course she didn't know, and her father didn't know, and I actually couldn't tell them why. I just knew that when you see pictures and images, both ancient and modern, of baptism, oftentimes they come with a scallop shell. Well, I went and did a little bit of research, and from the very earliest days, the very first few centuries of Christianity, when there are drawings and paintings and whatnot of baptism, oftentimes the one who is administering the rite of baptism is using a scallop shell. Sometimes even John the Baptist is depicted as using a scallop shell and baptizing Jesus. And it's not completely clear why this was. It may have simply been a point of practicality. That was an easy thing to use, to be able to hold some water and to pour it. But there are lots of other reasons why it may be symbolic, and I would imagine they did see it as more than simply practical, because they painted it on the walls of catacombs and elsewhere. Many scallop shells are white, and of course the color for baptism is white, and that symbolizes the purity that Christ brings to us through his sacrifice. And so white for baptism makes sense, and a white scallop shell would make a whole lot of sense there. I wonder, I haven't read this anywhere, but the sea is often in the Bible a symbol of chaos. At the very beginning in Genesis, God is hovering over the waters, and the waters are full of chaos, and God begins to bring order to chaos. In the book of Revelation, we have that wonderful image of the throne of God sitting on a great glassy sea. And the reason that it is a great glassy sea is that God has conquered the chaos, and never again will the sea become chaotic. Of course, when Jesus calms the raging sea when he is in the boat, all he has to do is speak and the sea becomes still. That is a wonderful image and wonderful example of Jesus being God, calming the chaos. And so using a seashell, using an image that comes from this image of chaos as an image of God conquering the chaos, is a wonderful, I think, example of why perhaps they use the scallop shell. Perhaps my favorite one that I did read about is the scallop shell has lots of different pathways that all lead down to the same central point, if you think about it, whether you're looking on the inside or the outside of the shell. And that reminds us that we all come to Christ from different walks of life. As Paul said, there's neither male or female, Greek or Jew, slave or free, but we're all one in Christ Jesus. And so it doesn't matter where your starting point was, male, female, Greek, Jew, slave, free, we all make our way to that central point in Christ, and we all are one in Christ. And I love that as an image. But the best image of all is the image that I saw on Sunday, the image of scallop shells on a little child's arm. She had selected that the day before, not realizing that, in a sense, I think God had selected that for her. And God was saying to her, and God was most certainly saying to me, it's not so important about how much you know right now. It's not so important how much your pastor prepared you for baptism. Courtney, it's not all about you and what good job you do as a pastor. In baptism, I am reaching out to her. And at baptism, I am claiming her. And her arm, what is on her arm, is just a testimony to my work in her life in ways that you cannot fathom and in ways that nobody can truly fathom. And that also is a testimony for all of us. No matter where you might be this day in your path, in your pathway to Christ, know that Christ is already coming out to you and reaching out to you. And Christ is involved in our lives at a deeper level than we ever could imagine. And so I hope you'll take that story this day and use it to maybe open up your eyes to see some of the ways that God might be working with you and in you this day, either in you personally bringing you whatever it is that you might need, or maybe in you as a way of being a minister to somebody else who is in need. Whichever way it is, we know we can do this because of one reason and one reason only: God is with us.